Well, if you're old enough, you may remember the iconic day the legendary Beatles first arrived in the United States. It was February 7th, 1964, when the Fab Four walked off an airplane from Great Britain and into the hearts and minds of Americans. And even if you're not over 50, chances are you've seen the Beatles' first performance on The Ed Sullivan Show. 16 years later, on this day in 1980, another iconic moment was remembered. Arise Review executive producer Alan Weiss, who at the time was working as a senior producer for WABC TV here in New York, reports the story. Take a look.
Stretcher came wheeling in, police officers, 6 to 8 police officers trotting alongside. They pushed him right into the room that was right next to me. A number of doctors, nurses ran inside, closed the curtain. One cop turned to the cop and said, "It's John Lennon."
That is our Alan Weiss. He happened to be at Roosevelt Hospital in New York City when John Lennon was wheeled in dead on arrival after being shot by Mark David Chapman. And Alan is here in our New York studios. He is the Arise News executive producer for Arise Review, and he was the first journalist to report Lennon's death on the day of this tragic shooting. Alan, it's so good to see you. It's a little weird to sit across from you because I usually have you in my ear in the control room, usually the puppet master here. But what an incredible part of history that you were able literally to be an eyewitness to. So I want you to tell us the story. First of all, what were you doing in the hospital?
Well, I was driving a motorcycle, had just left the newsroom, and I was going through Central Park, and I got hit by a taxi. And I hadn't strapped my motorcycle helmet on, and that's relevant because I went over the handlebars, slammed into the taxi, landed on the ground, and then so I was doing 30 miles an hour. My head was banging on the road like a stone skipping on a river. The EMS came. They were afraid that I had crushed my hip, so they actually took the stretcher apart and they took up, scooped it underneath me and took up half of Central Park, and they brought me to the hospital. And I'm lying there on the gurney, and the doctor, a woman doctor, is looking at me, and all of a sudden the door behind me slams open, and a man comes running and screaming. "We got a gunshot in the chest." And the doctor says, "When's it coming in?" "Hitting the door right now." And she says, "Alan, I'm sorry, but I got to take care of this." I said, "I'm not going anywhere." So I'm lying there. My ears are still ringing from having had my helmet ripped off and having my head banging on the ground. So I'm lying there, and I can hear footsteps. I look behind me, and I see 2 cops are coming in with a man between them. And they put him into the bay that I'm literally lying outside of. So I close my eyes, and I'm just catching my breath and relaxing. And the 2 officers come out, and they're literally standing over my bed, and one says to the other, "Can you believe it? John Lennon."
And I'm sure that got your attention right away.
It did.
Now, I want to skip forward a little bit because what you did was you called into your news station, a true journalist. Did that instinct kick in right away? Or were you just at first sort of in shock that John Lennon was next to you at the hospital?
You got to look at it on 2 levels. As a person, I was in shock that John Lennon was in the hospital. As a journalist, I was in shock that John Lennon was in the hospital. And as a journalist, you'll understand this. I'm lying there, my eyes closed, my ears are ringing because that helmet that it didn't stay on my head. Did the officer say John Lennon? He could have said Jack Lemmon. He could have said some other name. So I wasn't sure it was John Lennon at that point. So people are running in and out carrying plasma, and they're bringing in the crash cart, and I'm trying to ask them, "Excuse me, but can I talk to you for a moment?" And obviously they're all ignoring me.
That didn't go well, did it?
Not well. But one guy was sweeping the floor. And I said, "Come here for a second." I said, "Look, you watch Eyewitness News?" He says, "Yeah." I said, here's my card. Call the number. Tell him Alan's in the hospital and John Lennon may have been shot." So he goes, "Okay." I give him $20. 5 minutes later, security comes back, gives me back my card, not the $20, and says, "No personal phone calls." I said, "Well, it wasn't exactly a personal phone call. Is John Lennon?" "Mr. Weiss, we have a thing going on here. Can you just be quiet?" So I'm not sure. I'm still not sure. And they didn't have cell phones back then. So I'm lying there trying to figure out what to do, and I hear crying. And I look behind me, and there's an Asian lady in a fur coat on the arm of police officers.
Yoko, oh no.
Adrenaline is an amazing thing because I was able to get up, and they had these gurneys lined up along the wall. I could hop my way down to where the phone was at the end of the hallway in the reception area. And I'm just about to get there, and another security guard stops me and won't let me make the phone call. And at that point, police officer who brought me in comes running up saying, "What are you doing standing up? We took the stretcher apart to bring you in." And I said, "Well, haven't you heard? Haven't I heard what? John Lennon's been shot." He goes, "Who told you that?" I said, "Nobody, but I think I heard two officers talking about it." He said, "Alan, I would have known if it happened. It would be on the radio." I said, "Let me just call my office." Call the office. I get the assignment editor. I said, "I think John Lennon's been shot." He said, "I just heard a call for an ambulance at the Dakota." I said, "Then that's it."
Yeah, we're almost out of time, Alan, but did you recognize the magnitude of that historic moment?
Yes.
That you knew right away?
Yes.
And ABC broke the news
Monday
based
Night
on your,
Football,
on your
Howard
phone call.
Cosell.
Now a movie is out. There's
Yes.
someone who plays you in the movie.
Yes.
That's going to be exciting.
It's called The Lennon Report. It'll be out a year from today, and it was kind of surreal. I had a cameo appearance. It was wild.
Yeah, wow, what a amazing shot to a very tragic part of history. But,
Yes.
but nonetheless, Alan Weiss, thank you so much.
My pleasure being here.
All right, we're out of time. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye-bye.